What's up, YouTube? The Poor Hunter here again. This is part 3 of the right tool for the job. I want to talk about knives today. You need a good knife for hunting, no matter what you're hunting. You need to be able to cut up and gut that animal out and cut the meat up. So, the knife I use is this one here. It's a Western. My dad gave this to me a number of years ago, and it has processed 20 or plus deer in the past 6 years. My deer, my wife's deer, my kids' deer, a couple of deer of friends, just showing them how to do it. Um, so it's a really nice knife, holds an edge, but it is a hand-me-down. I have used it every year I go hunting. Um, I am a big believer in the rule of twos. The kind of the prepper's motto is two is one and one is none. So I recommend always taking out two knives into the woods because I have had it where didn't have a belt on, didn't have my knife on my belt, and I had it in my backpack while I was hunting. And I shot a deer, and I got to, got super excited that I got the deer. I was on the trail tracking it, and I was a quarter of a mile down the hill of the deer that I shot, and I got to the deer in the middle of a cornfield and realized I didn't have my knife. So I had to drag that deer out of the cornfield and over to the road, and my dad helped me load it up into the truck, and I got back home and was able to clean the animal there. But it is not it's not a good feeling when you're, oh crap, I don't have a knife, how am I going to do this? And that deer was heavy to drag it out of that cornfield. So I ever since then I always carry two knives with me. The other knife I carry with me is this one. My wife got it off the internet on a website, and it does the job. It's got the nice gutting hook on it, and that helps out a lot for gutting out that animal and cleaning it up. So I always carry this knife for that, and then I use my other knife for skinning it and cleaning it the rest of the way. Now you're going to need a good sharp knife, and being able to sharpen your own knife is a good skill to have. This is a honing stone. You can pick them up for cheap at any sporting goods store, any hunting store. You can get them out on Amazon for cheap. They're not very expensive, and you can make sure your knife's always sharp. Um, other knives that I have here and saw. You can pick up one of these. It is a bone saw. There's pretty much only one use for this saw, and that is cutting through that hip bone to gut out the animal. Um, Picked up this knife. This is a Walmart special. The only reason I got this was, one, it was cheap, and you can take the blade out. And it comes with multiple blades, including blades with the gut hook on it, and it comes with saw blades for cutting through that hip bone. So it was a cheap Walmart special, and I needed another saw. The one I just showed you before that one's my kid's saw. So, those saws come in handy for getting that hip bone and gutting that animal out. So, but I have used, those were just recent purchases. I've used everything from a hatchet to a hand wood saw to cut through that hip bone. So, that's what I had at hand on hand. It was recent years I had a little extra money for hunting, so I bought some of the stuff that I could use and made it a little bit easier to clean that animal. Um, but as far as knives go, it just needs to be a sturdy knife and sharp. Doesn't matter where you get it. You can go pick up the old school hunting knives like the Western here. You can find those at um, antique stores. Antique stores sell a lot of old knives, and they are very well constructed. They hold an edge, and they are easy to sharpen. So that would be my advice for that. But even at antique stores, some of those older knives can get pretty expensive. So, it doesn't have to be anything super fancy or flashy to clean an animal out. It's just got to be sharp. It's got to hold an edge. You can pick up a couple of decent knives at Walmart, that have a decent edge on them, and maybe sharpen them up a little bit more if they need it, and that will work just fine. So those are ways you can save money on the tools you need. Some of them you don't really need, like the The saws, you can use other stuff, like I said, a hatchet. If you have a bigger knife, you can actually break right through that hip bone with it. I have used the Western knife before to just kind of put it down on the hip bone and pound down on top of it, get through that hip bone, and punch downwards with it, and that'll break through that hip bone too. So I've done it a couple of different ways, and as long as you make it through that hip bone, you get that hip split, you can gut that animal out a lot easier. So yeah, just find a decent knife, something that fits you, something that you like, and get yourself a honing stone, cheap one, doesn't matter. Just keep a nice sharp edge on that. I recommend keeping that stone with you out in the woods. Even if you get a smaller one, keep it with you. If you're out in the woods and you're gutting out an animal or you forgot to sharpen your knife, it'd be nice to have that with you so you can do that. So those are a couple things that you can do. Like I said, save money if you don't got a lot of money to spend on that stuff. Just find something cheap. It could be a pocket knife. You just got to cut through that animal, cut through that meat, cut through that hide. And so if you use a cheap $5 pocket knife, as long as it works, it works. That's all that matters. So that is my 2 cents on knives. Use what you got. If it's an old hand-me-down, ask your parents, ask your friends. I'm sure any number of people that have a knife that you could borrow. There's plenty of hunters out there. There's plenty of past hunters out there that would be willing to share their tools and their knowledge with hunting. So look for that. Look for those kind of people. They are a big help. Had a lot of mentors over the years. Learned a lot of different things. My dad taught me the most about hunting, and sometimes people don't have parents that can teach them that things. Either they're not around or they're just not into hunting. So, find those people. Most people that I know um, are very much willing to teach others about hunting and willing to help them get their first deer. I've done it a couple of times helping people that just never been hunting before. One of the guys went out with us. He got 2 deer the first year he went. He got 1 deer and super happy about that. He went out with us a couple more days. He ended up getting a second deer, his first time ever shooting. So I walked him through cleaning his deer, and he cleaned his second deer. So those things are, very valuable, and there's a lot of people out there that are willing to teach those skills. And again, that is something that is cheap. People generally that I have met don't charge to spread their knowledge about hunting. So they're very willing to share that, and it's cool that there's people out there to do that. It's cool that people are willing to borrow their tools for those jobs and share their knowledge, because if there wasn't, there'd be a lot less hunters out there anyway. The numbers of people out hunting continue to drop every year, so it's nice that there are people that are willing to share their knowledge with newcomers, and yeah, continue on the conservation, continue on teaching people how to put food on their table for their family, because that's the most important part. And that's what I always tell my kids, no matter what, it's about putting food on the table, because there might be times later on in your life, and nowadays it's not that unforeseen with inflation, that there might be times when you can't afford to put food on the table, or you can't afford the things that you need because of the cost of everything in this world. So you can, no matter what, you have the knowledge to go out and put food on the table for your family at little to no cost. So I think next video I'm probably going to do is going to be in regards to processing that deer and cheap ways to do that. Um, Processing is important, and knowing how to do it yourself is the cheapest way to do it, in my opinion. You can take it out there and get it processed, but doing it yourself, it's a lot of work, but it saves a lot of money. So look forward to doing that one, and I will see you guys later. If you like the video, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. I'll still be poor, but I won't be hungry.